The Nigeria Leadership Summit presents its one-on-one series, bringing you up close and personal with Peter Obi, the vice presidential candidate of the PDP. Date, 11th of January 2019. Address, King Celia Hotels and Suites, 8 Jibowu Street, Yaba, Lagos. This event is powered by the Nikki Okoye Organization, Inc.
The story of the Animal Group, some of you are aware of, started about, basically their venture into leadership and basically trying to build the Nigerian story started about 12 years ago, and they've been doing quite a lot in terms of trying to build Nigerian leaders and of much recently Nigerian entrepreneurs, trying to just bring to the forefront the Nigerian story and making sure that it's a bigger and better story.
Yes, the Nigeria Leadership Summit is all about bringing forward-thinking Nigerians and leaders coming together to talk about solutions, speaking about the future of Nigeria. So if you're here today, it means you're a forward-thinking Nigerian. Thank you so much for being here today.
And most importantly, I think one of the reasons why the one-on-one series is being held is to try and bring to fore the discussions that you want to ask, the questions that are burning on your hearts that you would like to ask leadership. And you don't have the access to. But then there'll be town hall meetings where it is about you, really, not about, the bourgeois, but it's about you, the questions that you really want to ask to government when you can ask it. And I think this is the perfect opportunity. So I'd like you to, first of all, put your hands together for yourself for being here today. Please put your hands together for yourselves. And also, I want you to put your hands together for the Animal Group for doing this awesome event, for bringing together this wonderful event today.
All right, so we're going to be starting off with a video. And in this video, you would be seeing our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, speaking about the Annabelle Group and also speaking about certain initiatives that were brought by the Annabelle Group. Although a particular strategy, which is the youth entrepreneurship strategy that was brought by the Annabelle Group, was adopted towards the tail end of his tenure, he was able to realize that this particular strategy was one of the solutions towards a better Nigeria. So you're going to get more information about that right now, so please enjoy.
The Chief Executive Officer of Annabelle Group, Mr. Nicholas Okoye, you are doing a very good work for us. Just like Nicholas said, that is why the federal government of Nigeria is proud to partner with Annabelle Group to promote and manage the 9net.com portal. The youth entrepreneurship strategy goes further to fill the gaps in many of our entrepreneurship programs by providing bankable business ideas. Let me sincerely commend Nicholas and his team. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby adopt this youth entrepreneurship strategy and formally declare open the Nigeria Youth Entrepreneurship Network portal.
What a great nation.
He has built a magnificent career in capital markets, business development, entrepreneurship, and leadership that spans 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and the United States of America. He has advised 2 presidents, several state governors, 1 central bank governor, 1 stock exchange director general, and the leadership of a number of exchange-listed conglomerates. He has found a movement of hundreds of thousands of energized, inspired young people, led their development, and guided their efforts into new exciting careers in entrepreneurship. He has led two of Africa's largest corporations, one of which he co-founded and led its effort to implement exceptional business development strategy and to mobilize global capital on an unprecedented scale. He has designed and implemented strategies for building bridges of partnerships, collaboration and investment between Africa and the developed world. He electrifies crowds. He inspires millions with his words, his insights, his strategies, his ideas, and his achievements. He's made unprecedented breakthroughs in almost every endeavor, and he has accomplished monumental feats in finance, investment, and capital aggregation. He's a serial entrepreneur, a nation builder, a leader, an author, a mobilizer, a problem solver, a speaker, the likes of which his nation has never seen.
This is a magnificent nation. Nobody should be running away from Nigeria. The political leader, every decision he takes controls the lives of millions of people. That is the most important job in this country. We must raise the barrier for our leaders. Many would like us to believe that our greatest days are behind us. The youth say no. Our greatest days are ahead of us.
His name is on the lips of some of the world's most influential and most prominent personalities. His words command a call to action. His presence inspires new energy and productivity, and his direction is building nations.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man, Dr. Nicholas Okoye.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Yes. I would like to first of all apologize for starting late. There was a mix-up in the communication, so really deeply apologize for that. And I've promised His Excellency that we're going to do our best to accommodate some of the folks that are outside. There are a couple of young people that came from all over the country, and some of them are outside, so we're going to do our best to accommodate them. So I'm going to instruct Vivian to create another line of chairs towards the right. So all the cameras on the right should all move to the left. And then let's have another line of chairs on that right so that we can accommodate some of the people outside. Thank you very much again. One of the things, I'm going to combine my welcome address with my presentation so that we can save time. So I'm not going to give the welcome and then come back later and give the presentation. I'm just going to do both of them together and save as much time because we've lost some time. But one of the reasons why we started the Nigeria Leadership Summit is so that we can have an opportunity to engage with our leaders and to question their agenda, question their motives, and agree with them on the way forward. The one-on-one series is an opportunity to do that with His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, and we must thank him for being here. Please give him a round of applause. We must also thank the PDP campaign for releasing him, because the campaign is a very net-breaking. If anybody who has been following it on TV, they are in Nasarawa yesterday, the other day they were in Kogi, the other day they were in Niger, in Sokoto, and so on and so forth. So for the campaign to have allowed their vice presidential candidate to come off the campaign train and to come and talk to the young people and the young entrepreneurs of Nigeria, we please really appreciate that. Now, before I go into the presentation, one of the areas, or one of the reasons why I think Nigerians need to understand the gentleman, Mr. Peter Obi. I've told this story only once, and it was told to me by a friend of mine. And I said the best way to describe him is to tell this story. Not too long ago, about 5, 6, 7 years, some years ago, when Peter was still the governor of Anambra State, a global company called GSK, GlaxoSmithKline Beecham, wanted to build a factory in Nigeria. And their research had told them that that factory needed to be sited in the eastern part of Nigeria, because that's where all the market was, or the new market. So they chose, the local folks, they chose 3 sites. One site was Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Another site was Owerri, Imo State. And the third site was Anambra State. And they said they're going to come down, speak to the governors of those areas, try and figure out how they could negotiate the land. So they hired a private jet, brought in the global team from London. They flew down to Nigeria, and they flew down to Port Harcourt, the first port of call. The governor of Rivers State at that time was Rotimi Amechi. And believe it or not, he kept the global team from the GSK waiting for 4 hours. By the time they finally ushered in the team to meet with Rotimi Amechi, he spent 1 hour talking about himself and his quarrel with Goodluck Jonathan at that time. By the time he had finished talking about himself, the team from GSK realized that there was no point going further with that conversation. So they greeted and they left. And they said, let's go to the next location. All of them got on the plane. They flew down to Owerri. The governor of Imo State at that time, who still is governor, Rochas Okorocha. Now, I understand that Rochas was competing with Rotimi Amechi as to how much longer he can keep the team waiting. I think he kept them waiting a little bit longer than 4 to 5 hours. And finally ushered them into somewhere he calls the Bush Bar in Douglas House. And then when they were there, again, he spends the whole time talking about himself. There was no opportunity to discuss the reason a team from the international group of GlaxoSmithKline trying to put a $500 million factory in their state. It was never discussed. So the team turned around after the meeting and said, why don't they just fly back to London? That these Nigerians are not serious. Another person in the team said, well, we're already in the East. We had 3 locations. Why don't we just complete it so that at least we can go back and say, yes, we went to all locations. That was a strong argument. So it won the day. So they got back into the jet, and they flew to Enugu Airport to connect to Awka, hoping that they would drive down to Awka, meet the governor of Anambra, who at that time was Peter Obi. As the plane landed, taxis, tarmac, opened the door, guess who is waiting for them at the tarmac? Peter Obi. Waiting for them at the airport. They get into the convoy and go straight to the site where he had already allocated for the land to be for that factory. No time to go to government house for niceties. This is a true story. The MD of GSK at that time, Chidi Okoro, is here in the audience, so he can testify. Stand up and take acknowledgement. Because when I tell the story, they think I'm lying. It's a true story. But that just tells you the kind of person Peter is. One of the most deadly destructive cultures, Your Excellency, of the Nigerian people is that we believe we are entitled to a good life. We have an entitlement complex that someone, somewhere, maybe the federal government, the state government, your father, your mother, your uncle, your distant relative, your legislator, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your teacher, or your friends, or somebody somewhere is responsible for giving you the best things in life, a wonderful career, a successful business, a car, a home, a husband, a business, a vacation. However, if the truth be told, there is really and truly only one person that is responsible for providing you with all that you need to be happy and successful in life, and that person is you. That is the Nigerian paradox. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and achieve, he can achieve. I have something I call my personal success creed. I believe Nigeria needs a new mindset. If we are going to move away from this entitlement complex, then we need new leaders who can adopt a new mindset and who can share that new mindset with the Nigerian people. I used to share this creed. I'm not going to read all of it, but I just want to tell you that everybody needs a success creed. And if we have a leader that can take us to this level and hopefully energize the entire nation behind a new type of thinking, I think Nigeria will be on the right path. This is my own creed. I believe in myself. I believe in those who work with me. I believe in my employer. I believe in my friends. I believe in my family. I believe in my country. And I believe in God. I believe that God has given me and he will continue to give me everything I need with which to succeed if I do my best to earn it through honest and faithful service. I will be patient and tolerant with other people who do not believe in these commitments as I do. I believe that success is as a result of organized, intelligent effort. Success is as a result of organized, intelligent effort. It does not depend upon luck. It does not depend upon miracles or sharp practices or double-crossing friends. It does not depend on your fellow man or even on your employer. I believe I will get out of life exactly what I put into it. Therefore, I will work hard to position myself in the areas for which I have developed a strong passion, a keen interest, a burning passion, and I will careful and not to slander those whom I do not like. I will not slight my work no matter what I see others doing. I will render the best service humanly possible in whatever position I find myself, whether I am working for an employer or I am working on my own business, because I have pledged myself to succeed in this life. And I know that success is always the result of conscientious, consistent, efficient, valuable, organized, intelligent effort. Now, I just want to give you those areas, and I'll go finally into the focus on leadership. Go to the slide on focus on leadership. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why I brought out this is because there is a big challenge of leadership in Nigeria. And we believe very strongly that P2B exemplifies a new type of leader, what Nigerian people are yearning for. Your Excellency, some of the people in this hall have come from different parts of the country. They told you themselves. Some are from the northern part of the country, some are from the west, the east, and the far south. Because Nigerian people are yearning for good leadership. They are yearning for good leadership. And they believe, hopefully, that maybe you will exemplify that new kind of leadership with your principle. If, God willing, you are able to make it to the next, during the next general election. So the goal of leadership, a lot of our leaders don't understand this, but one of your goals is to move or influence people, inspire people, motivate, and produce more. Then your responsibilities include to protect the lives and property of those who you are leading. Do you feel as if your lives and properties are being protected? Your guess is as good as mine. Then you must align your personal interest with the interest of those who you are leading. so that there is no conflict. Because if your personal interest is aligned with the interest of the people you're leading, then there's no issue of conflict. You must continue to support and mentor those who are coming after you. So I'm going to move on quickly so that we can move to the main event. I will just take a few moments to talk about the 21st century and the fourth revolution, because I think that is very crucial where we are today. And I'll start it off with this quote. Slide. This quote was made by F.C. Kohli, Deputy Chairman of Tata. It was a speech he gave to the Computer Society of India in 1975. 1975. He said, many years ago, there was an industrial revolution. He's talking about the third industrial revolution. He said, we missed it for reasons beyond our control. Today, there is a new revolution. A revolution in information technology. This was in 75. Which requires neither mechanical bias or mechanical temperament. He said, primarily, it requires the ability to think clearly. This we have in abundance. We have the opportunity to participate in this revolution on an equal basis. He's talking about the Indians now. We have the opportunity even to assume leadership in this revolution. If we miss this opportunity, those who follow us will not forgive us for our tardiness and our negligence. That was 1975. This is the quotation from a leader. And he's not even a political leader. By 2007, the information technology services in India posted revenues of $23.5 billion. So clearly, that's energy that some of these leaders pushed into that industry exploded opportunities for the Indian people. Their current export figures from IT alone is over $50 billion. How much do we make from oil? Nigeria. Does anybody know? About 30 billion a year. 30 billion. That is what this whole struggle is all about. 30 billion a year. And India took one industry, services, all it takes is your brain, and converted it to a $50 billion industry. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution. I'm going to give you, this is very important that I give you this information. The most valuable man in the United States or in the world is a man we call Al Gore. Do you know Al Gore? Say I. Aye. The former vice president of the United States. Why do I say he's the most valuable man? In fact, in the 20th century. Because Al Gore is responsible for over $100 trillion in gross domestic product production. Al Gore is the original father of the internet. I'll tell you how. And he's a political leader. This is just to tell you the power of leadership. There's a man called Veton Cerf. Veton Cerf was working for the United States defense industry in a lab called the DFAC lab. While he was there, he set up a system. This was in 1972, where the United States military could transfer their data from one computer system to another system in case of a war. So if they were under attack, all the data in these systems can move to another system. That was the solution. It was set up by this guy called Veton Cerf. And it was a military, US military system. Al Gore visited the factory in 1986, the labs. And he met with Vaton. And Al Gore suggested, he said, this thing seems quite innovative. Why don't we allow the private sector to play with it and see what can come out of it? The ability to move data from one position to another is quite an innovation. Let's give it to the private sector. Vaton said he works for the military. It is classified. So he cannot share this invention, even though it's his, but he did it for the US military. But if the US, the military works for who? The United States government, isn't it? Who does the United States government work for? The people. And who are the people's representatives? The Congress. So he said, Oga, you are the people. If you could go back to Congress and get a law that allows the US military or compels us to share this innovation with the private sector, then I will be very happy to do that. So Al Gore went to work. He drafted a bill called the High Performance Computing and Communications Act. And he started fighting for it to be passed from 1986 to 1991. It finally was passed in 1991. It was christened the Al Gore Bill. It is that bill that gave rise to the internet. It is that bill that gave rise to Bill Gates, to Andy Grove, to Michael Dell, to Jack Zuckerberg, to Sun Microsystems, IBM, Oracle. All the value that you have heard about that has been created, companies that have been built on the internet, has come as a result of the simple legislation passed by a leader called Al Gore. Take a flip side and let's look at Nigeria. Look at Nigeria. I want to give you some very crucial dates. In 1977, Apple II was designed by Steve Jobs. 1977. By 1981, IBM produced the first personal computer. So you can see that 77, 81, the computing industry was just growing. It was in its nascent stage. Would you agree? In 1983, Nigeria had an opportunity to be part of that revolution. Computer was designed in Anambra State University of Technology, ASUTech, 801 series by Professor Mobison in 1983. The government that came in 1984 sat on it. This is a true story. It's not even funny because you see the kind of value that has been created from the computer industry. This 1983 design by Mobison came out before Windows 95. Windows 95 came 10 years later. Microsoft had not been invented at this time. So if we had the right leaders, Nigeria could have been part of the information technology revolution. You see how important leadership is. I just wanted you to have that for a second. So to conclude, the 21st century is about disruption. It is not yet late, Your Excellency. There is a fourth industrial revolution. We can be part of this one if we have the right leaders. If we choose the right leaders. Every single industry is going to be affected by technology. Already, the transportation industry has been completely disrupted by Uber and Lyft and Taxify. The hospitality industry has been completely disrupted by Airbnb. Home entertainment, Netflix. Music on the go, Pandora, Spotify. Next slide. I need you to look at this. Look at this slide. According to Financial Times in September of 1996, these were the top 10 companies in the world. General Electric, $222 billion in market capitalization. Shell, $191 billion. Microsoft, $159. ExxonMobil, $157. Coca-Cola, $151. Intel, $150. Nippon, $146. You get the picture. This is the top 10 companies in 1996. So basically the 1990s. Look at the top 10 companies in 2018. Number 1, Apple. Computer, information what? Technology. Number 2, Amazon. Information what? Technology. Number 3, Microsoft. Information what? Technology. Number 4, Alphabet. Information what? Technology. Number 5, Berkshire Hathaway. That's the only one that broke the ranks. That is an investment company. But number 6 comes back. Facebook. Information what? Technology. Number 7, Alibaba. Information what? Technology. Number 8, Tencent. Information what? Then you have 2. One is a bank, and one is a manufacturing company. Did you see any oil company in that list? There is none. That era has gone. Nigeria is living on borrowed time. It has gone. People are still running around trying, oh, I'm in the oil and gas business. That era has gone. This is the new era. It is based on innovation and technology, and we can compete because our young people are very smart. So these are the areas that we must focus on, and these are the areas for our leaders. Business technology systems, government technology systems, workflow technologies, autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence and processing, medical intelligence, universal connectivity, smart cities, smart factories. In fact, there's a factory in the US owned by a friend of mine, used to employ about 1,000 people. The guy just installed sophisticated robots. He cut his staff strength from 1,000 to less than 50 and increased his productivity by 50%. This is just to tell you where the world is going. So there's monumental disruption that is coming, which we must prepare for. So we must get our people to prepare. STEM sciences, education, teaching our young people all the sciences that they need to compete. And we don't leave the old people out. We can retrain the old people. In fact, a friend of mine that runs a software company in DC said that her best software developers are in their 60s because they're more committed. So they were able to retrain them in this new technology and these new skills, and they're doing very well. So I want to conclude by telling us that failure is not the opposite of success. We have failed. We have failed over and over and over again. But we must now try to succeed. According to Michael Jordan, he says, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. And on 26 occasions, I have been entrusted with the game-winning shot. And I missed. He says, I have failed over and over and over again. And that is precisely why I succeed. And then you look at some famous failures. Would you believe it if I told you that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team for not having any skills? Would you believe it if I told you that Einstein could not speak until he was 4 years old? He was almost written off as a mentally retarded. Einstein. Would you believe it? Well, everybody knows that Bill Gates was a dropout. But Oprah Winfrey had a rough and abusive childhood. She was raped at 13. She was a young mother, unwed mother, at 15. And she went on to become one of the richest women in the world. So finally, I'm just trying to tell you that the fact that we have failed is not supposed to discourage us. Because failure is a strategic stepping point on the path to success. According to Napoleon Hill, he says, before success comes in any man's life, he is sure to meet with much temporary defeat and perhaps some failure. Even when defeat overtakes a man, the easiest and the most logical thing to do is to quit. That is exactly what a majority of the men do. He told me, he said that in his quotes, more than 500 of the most successful men in the United States, and by definition the world, told me that their greatest success came one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. One step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. So I want us to build ourselves back up as Nigerians. Many of us have given up on Nigeria. Would you agree? Many of us have. But it is not yet too late. We must build back our confidence. This is a great country. We just have a leadership challenge. And we need to get the right leaders in place. How many of you have this thing? Say aye. Aye. If you don't have it, go and get it. It's not late. It's not late. Go to your local, they will give it to you if you had registered in time. If you had registered. It's late to register. Please go and get it. Because we must make a decision to completely take this country back. Would you agree? Yes. There is an old saying that says in the Serengeti, at the crack of dawn, the lion wakes up. And he knows that he must run faster than the slowest gazelle. Or he will not eat, and his family won't eat. But in that same Serengeti, the gazelle wakes up, and he knows that he must run faster than the fastest lion. Otherwise, he becomes the dinner. So the question, or the saying used to go, so in the Serengeti, it doesn't matter if you are a lion or a gazelle. When the crack of dawn comes, you better start running. But I have twisted the saying a bit because I live in Nigeria. And some people have been developing this Nigerian thing they call Nigeria no dey carry. I hate that statement. You know why? Because if you know they carry last, what does it mean? You're second to last. That's what it means. And if you're in the Serengeti and you're running just faster than the fastest lion, when the lion eats the slowest gazelle today, guess who is going to eat tomorrow? It's you. You must be in front. We have to start benchmarking ourselves against the best in the world. That is that is what we must do. So I normally conclude my presentations with a poem. And I call it Think Big. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you will lose, you have lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a man's mind. It is always a state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. Ladies and gentlemen, you have got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Listen, life's victories don't always go to the stronger or faster or smarter man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Thank you very much.
I'm sure I'm not the only person that has been frustrated by the entitlement scenario with Nigeria, where you kind of see that almost everything seems to be rocket science with us, when it even is the smallest of things. To fix things like power becomes a symposium discussion. To even have water, which is a human right, a fundamental human right, has become something that even most of us do not have. The most opulent parts of Lagos do not have running water. I mean, it's the biggest eyesore or the biggest, putting wisdom upside down, where a place is being sold for hundreds of millions of naira, but there's no running water, there's no good roads to access to the place, and this all stems from the fact that there's a leadership problem and that the people are not demanding enough.
That's so true. Thank you very much to Dr. Nicky Okoye, because he is a very, very successful man, but when he was striving in the economy, he realized that even if I'm striving, there are other people that are suffering. And he didn't just ignore and continue striving in the economy. He decided to spearhead something that would cause an indelible mark in Nigeria. And of course, he birthed the Nigerian Leadership Summit and a whole lot more initiatives. So thank you very much, Dr. Nicky Okoye, for being interested in the future of Nigeria. Okay, so we're going to introduce some of the speakers.
Yeah.
Would you do the honors, the first speaker?
Okay, so our first speaker we're calling up is a banker of repute. First time I think I ever heard about him was his work with Goldman Sachs, and quite detailed career in banking. He went on to become the MD of AMCON, and basically at that time he was at the middle and the center of the Nigerian economy, being spoken about, I mean, in whispers and big talks everywhere. But we would like to introduce to the platform as our first speaker of the day, Mr. Mustafa Chikeobi. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. All protocols observed. But I need to point out that our next president, Atiku Abubakar, is represented ably here by his son, Aminu. So I just wanted to point that out. This is a very tough job following Nicky Okoye on the podium, because he's a very eloquent, well-researched speaker. But let me set the tone for His Excellency P2B and this one-on-one performance. I have known His Excellency for a while. My first introduction to him was when my dad, Professor Chikeobi, passed away. And unknown to me and my elder brother, we had been residing in the US for a long time. And quite frankly, we had turned our backs on Nigeria. Something we regret and we're hoping to fix by service for the next few years. So, unknown to me and my brother, His Excellency as governor used to visit my father regularly in Onitsha and actually take care of his needs. So when he passed away, he actually took charge of all the funeral arrangements, and the state paid for them, for most of it. That was my first introduction to him. Since then, he's been one of my heroes, one of the people I admire and respect the most. He is what you see. I'll tell you a story. I went to Awka for the Anambra 20th anniversary. And on our way out of, we went through Enugu Airport. We flew together. So we got to the airport, and I said, well, let's go to the, to the lounge, the VIP lounge. And he says, what am I going to the VIP lounge for? Spend 3,000 naira in the VIP lounge? So because he was there, I had to stay in the regular area with him till we took off. I missed my lounge appointment, but that's how he is. He really is this simple. He really is this. He is really a common man in his thinking. It's not an act. It is, in fact, some of us find it annoying sometimes, but this is how he is. So, without going too much into all the stuff that Nikki talked about, Nigerians need one thing and one thing only. They need to be more productive. We are in a global economy, and we must compete with the rest of the world. Our musicians must compete with musicians across the world. Our actresses, actors must do the same. We must do the same thing in what we produce. We are the largest country in the world that doesn't make what it eats, what it wears, what it drives, doesn't teach our children. We cannot, no country in the world can survive by being a net buyer of foreign goods. And that's what we are. So we must be more productive. We must be able to compete with everybody else. And to do that, we need leadership, number one, which Nikki has pointed out very clearly. But we need financing. Interest rates are too high. You will not compete with people who borrow money at 2% a year when you're lending money to your people at 26%. It will never happen. We need training. We need training not just in the universities and in the schools. We need a mindset that tells Nigerians that these are the areas that are important and we must learn about it. Nobody knows about artificial intelligence today. We are all learning. We can learn with the best of them, and we must learn what's important. So we need learning, we need financing, and the final thing we need is we need tools. And when I say tools, I mean electricity, I mean roads, I mean equipment, I mean computers in the schools. We must be equipped to compete with the world. My favorite story is that if you have a flat tire today in your car, and you have the equipment to change the tire, almost all of us here can change the tire by ourselves, even the ladies can. If you don't have those tools, a simple jack and a simple spanner, 20 people can change a tire. So the importance of having equipment for simple tasks can never be overestimated. So you will enjoy talking to Peter Obi. I was with him last night till 3 a.m., and I enjoyed every minute of it. So you will enjoy this. And Nikki, I thank you for the honor of giving me a chance to speak here and say a few things about Peter Obi. And God bless Nigeria, and let's hope that this is the beginning step for Nigeria joining the union of great nations. Thank you.
Please, you can do better than that. Please put your hands together for him once again. Quickly, before we have the one-on-one, as Mr. Chikeobi had said, the presidential aspirant for the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, is... yeah, okay. Forgive me. Candidate for the 2019 presidential elections. He's ably represented here by his son, Aminu Atiku, and we would like to call him up to say a few words just before Mr. Chikeobi comes up. Please put your hands together for him as he comes.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aminu Atiku Abubakar, and I am here on behalf of my father, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who has been chosen as the flag bearer of the PDP by the grace of God, president to be come 2019. My father would have loved to be here, but is currently traveling all over Nigeria meeting and interacting with many Nigerians on how to move Nigeria forward. It is no accident that my father has chosen the best person as his running mate to help realize his vision to get Nigeria working again. My father, along with Peter Obi, stand for job creation, empowerment of the youth, national security, empowerment of women, advancing education and agriculture to drive Nigeria's economy forward. My father has shown over the years that he is more than capable of running the country. I believe that with his experience of both men and the passion they both have to see Nigeria flourish once more, there is no way they can fail once elected into office. I hope this leadership summit will educate and enlighten everyone present and encourage you to cast the right and only vote for Atiku and Obi come 2019 February. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
So the next speaker that I'm going to be welcoming here has a couple of achievements up his sleeves. He is the managing director of UAC Foods. He won the Pearl Outstanding CEO Award for best performance at delivering shareholder value. He got an executive master's in positive leadership and strategy from IE Business School in Spain. He's none other than Chidi Okoro. Please, can we give him a round of applause?
It's afternoon, right? Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'll go straight to the point. And I do believe that Mr. Peter Obi, and certainly the principal, the aspirant for, the presidential aspirant for, or candidate for PDP, understand the weight of a problem. Today, I'm no longer the managing director of UAC Foods I used to be, but I operate in the retail sector. I'm also a faculty at the business school, and I teach on strategy and marketing. And let me give you an idea of the issues that we are facing right now. And I'll break it down to the micro level. Every Nigerian is poorer by about 40%. Check your bank account, okay? And let me tell you how that dovetails into your life. I operate in retail in Lagos, Ogun. The whole of Southeast, I have retail, in pharmacy, in supermarket, and South-South. Every supermarket is down on sales by 30%. And let me tell you something again. Prices went up 50%, meaning that every supermarket is down by minimum 50%. We're selling half of what we were selling in 2013. That is the implication. Let me also give you another issue, and I do hope that Atiku Abubakar understand, and Peter Obi, they understand they are going in to take a very difficult and complicated job. The world is changed, and the world is changing faster. I can actually run a business in Nigeria without ever coming to Nigeria. So the shout about making tax and all of that is all rubbish. I can be somewhere in Belize and I'll be running billion-dollar business in Nigeria. No kobo gets into Nigeria. But something is clear. I met Peter Obi 2011, and he came to the airport to actually pick us. He was a governor, but he came to pick us because we were coming with investment. If anyone is going to be brave to pick up Peter Obi as his vice, if anyone is going to be brave to pick this man, because he's a very complicated man, if anyone is brave to pick him, we should trust and support that man. Nigeria has a productivity problem, and I'll put it in perspective. I'll round up quickly. I think Nigeria's productivity is $6.85 per man-hour. Let me put it in perspective. Brazil is $12 per man-hour. And remember, Brazil, they play more than we do. Let me go on. Germany is $28 per man-hour. We have a productivity problem. We cannot consume because we don't produce, meaning that the guys we put there, we also have issue with resources. Our GDP, $400 billion, is nothing. I mean, Singapore is about the same. Singapore is a country of 5 million people. It's a very tiny, small country. Nigeria does not have money. We are a poor country. Let me put it in perspective. So we need managers that understand how to harness mega resources. If anyone tells you we are rich, that the problem is that we don't know how to spend it or that somebody is taking the money, do not vote for that person because he doesn't understand the issue. For us this time, we must interrogate every candidate. We've got to be sure that Peter understands that Nigeria does not have the resources it needs to drive its development. I will end quickly. But tell me the state government that has ever built a 100-kilometer road the last 20 years. The biggest project Nigeria undertook was Third Mainland Bridge. That was how many years ago? The guys we vote into office must be guys who understand how to harness mega resources. And I'm not saying this because I know Peter. I have met Atiku. I have met your father once. He interviewed me for a job, by the way, 2012. Okay? Let me tell you what. The guys we vote in must know how to harness mega resources. There are no better people. There's no better team than Atiku and Peter Obi. And I'm not kidding about this. I operate at the macro level because I teach business. I teach CEOs. I operate at micro level because I operate in Onisha market as well, like Peter does. I know that Nigerians are hungry. It costs you 700 naira to treat malaria today. I import an anti-malarial, and guess what? Malaria kills nearly 300,000 Nigerians per annum. And next month, you say DFI did they pull down the subventions they give, costs of pharmaceuticals are going to go up. Nigeria should be ready. We must elect the right people. I'm happy Peter is here. Let's feel free to interrogate him and ask him the questions. Are you ready for the job you're coming on to? I think that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
He has served 2 terms as the executive governor of Anambra State, with distinguished accolades and monumental impact in the lives of the people of Anambra State, in terms of education, security, infrastructure, and healthcare. His service also drove an unprecedented economic growth of the Anambra area, resulting in thousands of new jobs, billions in new investment, and a renewed commitment to education by the young boys and girls of Anambra State. He has served in several leadership positions in corporate Nigeria, reaching the pinnacle of his professional career by serving as chairman of numerous corporate organizations, including but not limited to Fidelity Bank PLC, Guardian Express, Mortgage Bank Limited, Future View Securities Limited, Paymaster Nigeria PLC, Next International Nigeria Limited. He has also supported the boards of various institutions as director, including but not limited to Chams Nigeria PLC, Emerging Capital Limited, Card Center PLC. His contributions to the political development of Nigeria is legendary, from providing leadership as the chairman of Southeast Governors Forum to advising the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, on finance and economic management. He has also served as chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commissions, providing much-needed leadership in capital market reforms in Nigeria. Perhaps his greatest contribution to the political development of Nigeria is his capacity to abide by and use the rule of law to win back his stolen mandate, not once, not twice, but a legendary 3 times, strengthening the belief of the Nigerian people in their judiciary and giving power back to the people by upholding the Nigerian courts as the last arbiter of justice and fair hearing. His name is Peter Obi, the Okute, Rock of Nigeria, and the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party.
Thank you, and let me most sincerely start by sincerely apologizing for a mix-up that occurred this morning. For those of you who came here very early, I sincerely apologize. When I was invited to this occasion, I and Nicholas, who is very passionate, and Nicholas have talked about a number of issues. When he told me, he said, this event starts by 9:30. I didn't know he meant I would be here by 9:30. I had offered Silverbird to do a program for them between 8 and 9. And after 9, meeting Ben Bruce is not easy. he brought all sorts of other people, set a trap for me. So I was coming out of the studio. I was trapped into a discussion that took a while. And I said, since my next event, they said 9:30. And yesterday, I was at an event when they said 1:30. I came by 1:30. They didn't start until 4. Let me give these people 1 hour. So it was 10:30 when I called him. I said, I'm going there now. He said, they've been waiting for you since. I said, oh my God. I would have gone this place since I apologize sincerely. It was not deliberate. Again, listen to Nicholas and everything. The impression he gave me is that I'm coming here, and that is what I'm going to take on before we go into to also talk to some young minds. I'm sure people who have come here will say, maybe these people went on to talk about politics. And that is what we don't talk often in Nigeria. Let me tell you, if you get everything right in your country and your politics wrong, everything will go wrong. And that is the problem of Nigeria. Problem of Nigeria is they have the best minds, they have the best people who are committed. If I look into this all, I can tell you that I have people who can change this country. But the problem is that what you see in Nigeria is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years, where the worst in us are the ones leading us, when the best have abandoned the place for the worst. I have been part of it. The quality of political leadership is too low. You cannot offer what you don't have. It's simple. This is the only country where those who have never created anything, managed anything, are managing the resources of everybody. There's no way it can happen. This man has just graduated from being a thug and he's become a leader. He doesn't have anything to offer anybody. And everybody keeps quiet. Because if I call up Biasika, or call up Maro, or call up my friend Johnson, I was talking with Mustafa yesterday. We brought up an issue where we talked about budget. And I told him how we can easily have a budget of 12 trillion. And when we looked at it, he said to me, I said, this looks simple. But how come people cannot see this? How come we're in a situation where this country does not need to operate a deficit budget, and it's happening? Because the best in us are not involved. So for me, it's an appeal that it's time people reconsider, giving a few minutes of their time. When I go around, even in voting, it happens to us. The guy who is voting thinks he's doing you a favor. He doesn't see that it concerns him or her. But I can tell you, I lived in the UK for over a period of 10 years. When there's an election, I go to the corner shop around my house and say to the man, who will you vote for? He will tell me, I'm going to vote for this guy because since this one came in, look at what has happened to my corner shop. But Nigerian has the same shop that has collapsed. And he said, where are you going to vote in? He said, they are the same thing. You know? If you look at our campaign now, what has been dominating the campaign? It is, this man is from the East. This one is a Yoruba man. This one is this. But guess what? Nobody have asked the fundamental question. When we hired this man, because we had a team in 2015, there was a promise they gave us. Nobody have interrogated that promise. Because that's all they require. When you came, the reason why you came was, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. This security, I'm going to provide it. I wipe out about Boko Haram. We take it good. I'm going to make sure The economy works very well. We are give 3 million jobs. We take it good. We're going to fight corruption to a standstill. We take it good. We're going to provide power that is not there. We take it good. Naira is going to be 1:1. We take it good. Fuel is going to be 14 naira. We take it good. What we need now is, let's bring this your. That's all. It's a very simple thing. Because it's your promise. That was the basis on which we hired you. So all this okay. It was caused by this man who was there for 16 years. That is a discounted position in finance. Because that is a position we saw when we hired you. Because that's what he told us. That this man have killed us. This man is bad. This man is bankrupt. This man. So we hired you based on this. That's not the story we want to hear now and again. The story we want to hear, it is assumed that you've taken all that into consideration when you were giving us profit. Because we came for interview. All of us go for interview, for a walk. And we showed you how this company book is. Say, listen, if I am hired, I'm going to turn this company around. So if you come after 3-4 years to start telling us that what we met then was what caused your problem, wait a minute. It's a bad business. But that's what you see in Nigeria. And it goes on and on. Nicholas has mentioned the problem of the country. The problem of the country, I've said, mine, it's not the air we breathe, it's not food we eat, it's not anything, it's just bad leadership. And it's not just at the center, it goes across to the local government. I can tell you that all of you here, none of you knows your local government. Not that you don't know it, but let me tell you what you don't know. Every local government in Nigeria receives at least 100 million a month. Every local government. Go and ask any of them, where is that money? Some of your local government chairmen, there's a man in Lagos that told that his local government chairman is probably living in a hotel. Behold, he went home and met his local government chairman in a hotel, drinking wine. And he came back and said, Peter, is it because you know? I said, I don't know, I'm just telling you. So every month, there's a share of about 70-something billion naira to local governments that nobody accounts for all over the country. The states share their own, and nobody cares what happens to all this money. The states get their own, local government get their own. Nobody cares. The only thing we care is that we continue to celebrate this mediocrity, recklessness. That's the only thing you celebrate in Nigeria. If you want people to notice you now, you go out there, block the road with a big car, blowing siren, making noise. We like to celebrate recklessness. Something that if you do in any other part of the world, you're finished. But here, there's somebody who know. We were once behind one man and who blocked the road and we're doing this thing. And he told us that if we do this again, you throw away this our car and pay us. How can you be trying to blow your horn when you see a car like this back and you're using this useless vehicle to... But it's a road that it was meant for everybody, including the rich and the poor. I'll talk on 3 segments. Let me start with issue of entrepreneurship because I know some young men are here. I'll talk about the country, leadership. First, I've spoken generally about issues because today is interaction with you that I'm here for. I want to listen more. But I've said our problem is leadership. Our number 2 problem is still leadership. Because you have a visionary, you don't have people who, a leader is not just a visionary. It's also somebody who inspires others to follow. It's somebody who gives hope. He has a lot of rule. That is also lacking. So those we have are not doing anything. We have issue with corruption. For me, corruption is the easiest thing you can stop. I said this in the TV this morning. And it's very simple. Anybody who tells you corruption is very difficult to stop in Nigeria, lie. Tell that PDP said, lie. It's very easy. Corruption is hurting the country in 3 areas. Corruption kills entrepreneurship. The greatest thing you need for a nation, for a system to develop, is entrepreneurship. When Nicholas was talking this morning, everything he said about all the companies he showed us and everything, or what is happening in the world, is about entrepreneurship. Corruption kills entrepreneurship. Nobody thinks in a corrupt country. It kills professionalism. If you go to your villages today, nobody's working hard to be a professor. Because why would you be a professor researching to be paid 400,000 naira when the councillor have bought a new car? Talk, in your village. You cannot. It's the other way around in every decent war. It kills hard work. Once people's talent cannot match up the opportunity, you ruin the whole thing. And that is what is happening with corruption. But do we want to stop corruption in Nigeria? It's very easy. Anybody can tell you it's complicated. All you need to do is to remove all the toll gates and you stop corruption. It's as simple as ABC. Any other person who tell you anything, he doesn't know what it is. And I gave an example this morning. That we tried to buy a computer. When I was serving, we said we need 30,000 computers for the schools. And people came and said, they've ordered it through ABCD company. And I said, what brand of computer are we buying? And they said, HP. I said, don't we have HP in Nigeria? Why do we have to go through this man to reach this man who is direct here? Why are we going this way? Let's go talk to this man. HP is in Nigeria. Why don't we talk to HP? By talking to HP, we got the same almost 30% cheaper. We paid HP 2.6 billion as against 3-point-something billion, which we were paid. I said, this is HP here. Call them. They will supply it. They will do the same thing, and they'll be happy to work with us. We tried to buy vehicles for schools. It was something. Innocent was doing vehicle. And I said, listen, let's go to this man and pay him. So, look at how money works in a place. We wanted to fix education. The most important investment any nation can do is education. It's the most critical investment in Nigeria today. The crisis we face today are just beginning. You have 13.5 million children out of school. There's no way you won't have crisis. In Zamfara, less than 150 people sat for WAEC a year ago. In a state that is up to 5 million in population. That is the one school in Lagos. Sat for WAEC. 128 passed. Now, in that education, we have what we call universal basic education. But to save money for that school, for the same universal basic education. They give money to, federal government gives money to an office created, which they call UBEC office. UBEC office sends money to, say, Anambra State government, who sends it to Anambra State education, equivalent of UBEC at the state, who sends it to local government, who sends it to school. The question I ask myself is, why can't this money move from there to the school? Because all these roadblocks are corruption points. And we did it. And when we did it, you'll be shocked. When we did it, they wrote a petition all over the place, that we are not following the financial guideline. That we're not following it. And they set up a panel to investigate what we are doing in Anambra State. Because we are giving money direct to. We return schools after spending 2 years without any progress. We return school to the original owners, the church. And say, you manage school, we will pay salary and pay everything. And they started managing their school. I was already giving them money direct. And they wrote a petition that we can't give them money direct. The first protest is that we cannot pay for their school. We cannot pay for the teachers and everything. We cannot pay this and everything. I said, you don't know what you're talking. I saw some of you, maybe one or two of you own school here. The reality in Nigeria is that if you say that you have universal primary education, basic education, every child within that basic education of primary school and secondary school, whether he goes to a private school or a public school, is entitled to government support. If it's in a public school, you pay the difference in a private school. So I said to them, these people are just helping us. Let's give them the money direct. They wrote a petition. The people came and looked at it and found out what these people were using our money to do was phenomenal. I showed them basic examples. In a school where we had an erosion, the several sister that was running the school said it will cost them 28 million naira to fix it. Our Ministry of Environment, 27 million, Environment has 68 million, and they said the sister doesn't know anything about engineering procurement, but I said the sister lives with erosion. So we cannot be better than the sister. This is our problem. Let's give her 27 million and save ourselves for something. If the nation carries that, that is our business. It's not our business because we have paid for it. And I can tell you, that project has been finished and its work is good for several years. If it was us, maybe it's still at variation stage by now. So removing corruption is Chidi has run a business. Johnson has run a business. A lot of people here have run a business. My dear people, what we need in government is lacks of Chidi. It's lack of Nick. People like Chidi. I'm calling my friends who are here. Unfortunately, they don't want to be part of it. And that is the crisis we are facing. Because they think it's not their business. I want us to be interaction. I don't want to be one speaking. But let me tell you, Nigeria will survive. We will get it right. It's a great country. Nigeria is a case of where lunatics took over the asylum. What we need to do is to get the lunatics and put them back in the asylum and look after them. If we do that, it will change. Because the best are those who will look after them and will start doing the things that are proper. It's not a question of saying Atiku will be or this, that. It's the question is that the right minds will start asking the right question. Like I said, this is what you promised us. This is what you're not delivering. You know, we have support. We talk about SMEs today. Everybody knows. Nicholas said it. You compare yourself with the other side of the world. It's not rocket science. I was asked a question this morning that is it fair to compare us with China? That China is such a big country. I said, no. We have to compare ourselves with China. You can't see me comparing Nigeria with America. I don't. When people do it, I tell them, no. America is such a big, successful. But I always compare ourselves with China, Indonesia, and everything. Why do I do that? Because we were better than this man a few years ago. We were better than they are. And they didn't do anything, listen, that just 35 years ago, compare us with this person in terms of savings. We had just savings. We had $10.5 billion. China is 10. 35 years after, they have 3-point-something trillion, and we have 30. How come that a man who were better, we don't have 1% of what happened? They don't have oil. They don't have any other thing. So what did they do? Our per capita was 870. They were 193. Now they're 8,000 and we are 1,000 something. What happened with these people? So for me, it's something, and you won't say it's because population is big. Their population is 1-point-something billion. There are 5-6 times our population. What did they do that we cannot do? What did China do? They don't have oil. We have oil in abundance. They don't have all those amenities, all those things that made us special. They don't have. So there must be something. And that is what I want to also say. Let us look. It's not going to China to borrow money to build airport or rail. No. China didn't go borrowing from everybody to build all those things. They first looked at their problem and decided we have to sacrifice and walk this path. Now we go there to borrow money and build terminals of airports that plane won't even go in a few years' time. And we are in debt. So I told them, I said, that is why I compare us with China. I shout about debts every day, not because borrowing is wrong. If you really want to get this country to get, you have to borrow. But where all the borrowing we did, where is it? People say it's for capital projects. Where is the capital project? Can anybody show me one that is around your area that I know? And I gave them insights today. Capital projects, we've borrowed 12 trillion in the past 3 years. And it says for capital projects. But let me show you what 1 trillion can do. One. Lagos Ibadan, the 2 sections that is remaining, only need 200 billion. The one from our papa to Osho, the one Dangote is doing 75 billion. Enugu Port Harcourt is about 120 something, we call it 125. So you now have 400 billion. Second Niger Bridge is 200 billion. Medugri, Kanu Medugri, 200 billion. So for 1 trillion, you would have finished all this. And people can see it and feel it. So where is it? Just 1 trillion? And nobody can account for 11. But just 1. So what are you talking? Where is this money? And nobody is talking about it. Even estimate for Fort Mainland Bridge is about $1 trillion. So what are you talking? So where is it? What are we doing with all this borrowing? Who is doing this study to know whether these airport buildings we are doing, how we are going to recover to pay back? It's a business. We're borrowing money. Our GDP is going down. So you're throwing money at the business, the value of the business is going down. If you put money, if you go to a bank and your business is worth 10 million and you borrow another 5 million, that business is supposed to be worth 15 at least. But here we are borrowing money, the business is collapsing. So there's something wrong because you're not putting that money in a productive way. And this is the crisis we face as a country. So this election, my dear people, is not I want Nigerians to start thinking differently about the election. Not the election is that this man, like I said, they've shifted it now. The story now is this man is from this area. If you vote us, we are from this area. If you vote us from this area. That wasn't part of the engagement when you come to ask us to employ you 4 years ago. We want to look at the reason for employing you. If we are going to put any other criteria, it is us who are the owners of business that will put that criteria. This is not time to introduce new criteria. That you're from this place or you're from this place. No. It's those things you promised. In every indices of development, we're headed negative. Everything. We're headed negative. And that is what we need to look at. Countries like China, we're talking. Countries like Indonesia put millions of people out of poverty. Within the same period, we pushed many people into poverty. In 3 years, in 2015, India were #1 in poverty country with 176 million. We were 70-something million. 3 years after, we became, some call it 90, almost 90, 87 or 90. We became about 90. They became 76. What did India do to pull 100 million people out of poverty in 3 years, and we push millions into the same direction? Nicholas just showed a single thing, a very simple thing, which we can all understand. The only thing he didn't tell you, when he said all our sales from oil is 30 billion, that's about Apple revenue in a quarter. 1 or 2 quarters, that's Apple revenue. The only thing he didn't show you when he was talking about the future is that Apple is worth over 1 trillion. That's what you showed. Apple is actually bigger, if you measure it against the world, than the 3 biggest economies in Africa. We are 370 now, but let me put 420 that we used to be. South Africa is 280, 700. Egypt is 250. So the 3 of us are 950. In GDP, Apple is 1 trillion. One company. Facebook is bigger than economies of West Africa put together. Of course, net worth of Mark Zuckerberg is $80 billion. Nigerian budget is 22 billion. So he can actually give us 22 and say have 6. So we have a crisis. And we are not investing in this business. We are still busy arguing about how much oil we shared in Abuja, how much money we shared. Nobody's seen that you can develop today a budget. Our budget is still driven by the same corruption and everything. So, my dear people, I just want to talk broadly and allow that interaction because you said 1 to one with me. I want people to ask those questions that bother you. So I have decided, because I was one who did not keep to time. I was supposed to go to Enugu at about 1, and I told the people, I said, let me tell you, I'm going to cancel that and go by 3, because these people will hear because of me, so I have to also do something because of them so that I can answer that question. So when you say one-on-one with me, I am ready to take those questions and everything. But I appeal to the younger ones. The most important thing of Atiku Obi government is that we're going to fight jobs. We will put energy and time in ensuring that we support SMEs. We support entrepreneurship. It will be revolutionary. I'm not talking about giving people 10,000. I will not be part of that. I will not be part of that. We are going to empower people in the way that it has never happened in this country. I have an idea what SMEs can do. The greatest job creator that you can experience in any nation in the world comes through SMEs, entrepreneurship of the young mind. And we're going to support it heavily. Through grants, through everything. I've studied everything. The reason why I have inequality in the country is because you're not supporting your SMEs. Somebody said to me yesterday about something about SMEs, and I told him a few things. I said, look at your country. Your country have a total of about 20 billion debt book, out of which a few people are just managing. A few people are in charge of everything. If you just change, somebody mentioned it here, nobody, there's no way these young minds can survive at the level of interest that you're paying today. Without power, without anything. So you need to do a lot. And I can tell you, that will start. But I want to conclude when we finish the interactive section. And I'm going to be here as long as you want me, because I was the one who kept you waiting. It's your turn to keep me waiting.
So first of all, one of the areas that many of us are concerned about, as you have rightly mentioned, is the development of entrepreneurship. And you said yourself that you're going to have a revolutionary intervention, the kind that we have never experienced before in this part of the world. Is there any part of that plan that you can share with us that will get us excited? Or is it a plan that we're not allowed to get the details of at this time?
Well, I'll give you a global picture of it. The first is that, and I must give a background to it, if you might allow me. I talked about SME and entrepreneurship. First, you need to look at your GDP and ask yourself, where are the growth areas that Nigeria is lacking? If you look at our GDP and look at where we're lacking, it's an issue of, like I said, in SMEs. If you take China that I normally use for an example, China's 60% GDP comes from SMEs. 60% of its industrial output, including export, comes from this sector. China has 800 million people employed. 800 million people. Almost 500 million is employed by this sector. So almost twice, 2.5 times the Nigerian population. If you support this sector, one area you can support them, they have three critical areas. Number one is access to finance. Today, Nigerian total loan book or debt is about 20 trillion. And it's said that only 350 Nigerians is responsible for 80%. That's the how many? Wow. No, 80%. 16 trillion. If you share it over 350, it's about 45 billion each. Then you have Nigeria has registered 37 million SMEs. And it's believed that SMEs control only about 5% of the entire loan book, which is like 1 trillion. And if you share the amount at 7 million, it's 27,000. So you can see where your crisis is.
Exactly.
If you tweak this like any other country where this 37 million people is responsible for 30 to 40% of your loan book, you create an economy. Because one, with those 37 million people, you're going to create demand, which is lacking in your economy today. You're going to create the inequality in Nigeria is 157 over 157. It's the highest. Yeah. It's among the highest. The consequence is that you have people who are less than 0.001% that is excessively rich, and the rest are poor. That's why you have 87 million people living under poverty. By just tweaking that, you're going to pull millions of people out of poverty. And as those millions of people are coming out of poverty, you're creating your GDP, everything is all on the rise. And you're creating an economy that has demand. Because imagine 37 million people who can afford to buy a tin of milk. Imagine 37 million people that can afford to buy a few things. Imagine the demand, sugar, everything the factories are on. Today, businesses are collapsing because there are millions of people who can't buy it for anything.
Excellent.
So I can assure you, we'll put money behind it in terms of grants because it's necessary. Yeah. And we're going to ensure that we work with financial industry on getting more involved in ensuring that access to funds, not in terms of policy, in terms of implementation of policy, because we have too many policies here that have not been implemented. Our government will move from policy formulation to program implementation. We'll deal with it directly. And you will see the change. Very, very clear. It's a government that will be driven by SME. And we have people that can help to drive that process.
Okay, so there are two mics in the middle of the hall. Ify, where are you? And okay, so there are two there. So we'll start from the right-hand side of the hall. Somebody right, that guy right in front of you, yes.
Okay.
Say your name, where you came from, and then ask your question.
My name is S1E1. I came from Lagos, and I run a small company called Cagecom Entertainment. I've been part of Annabelle Group since 2012 when they started their first summit.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. I really want to ask, because Lagos Port is becoming an eyesore. Do you have Lagos Port? Do you have any plan to decentralize the activities of the port so that other ports in other parts of the country can become functional and commercially viable?
let me tell you, when you say Lagos Port is becoming an eyesore on this, it's laughable. Somebody asked me yesterday about Nigeria has done well in ease of doing business. I said, what ease of doing business can be better than clearing the trailers from Apapa to Ikorodu? Now, that is the first ease of doing business. Let me tell you what that is today. It is not the eyesore that is the problem, my brother. The problem is that thing you see is creating a lot, enormous cost on businesses and everything that is unbelievable. Developing our ports, infrastructure, is hurting us. I'm sure you're a businessman. Can you multiply 1,000 with 10,000 for me? What's the answer? Huh? 10 million. 1,000 multiplied 10,000. Thank you. Are we correct? Yes. Thank you. Now, let me tell you, if you ship a container anywhere from Europe, anywhere to Lagos Port, it will cost you additional $1,000 than if you ship it to Cotonou, Ghana, anywhere in West Africa. The reason is that your port is inefficient. And these are part of the problems. So it costs you more. By doing it rightly, the businesses will save $10 million. That is all you've got now. If you multiply 10 million, you multiply 10 million with our rate of exchange, which is 360. I don't believe in any other rate, too, apart from that rate which Malam sells. That is, for me, is the official rate, because that's what is available to Nigerians. The other one, some people get it, depending on the party they belong to. But this is one that is official to everybody. If you multiply about 360, that is 3.6 billion. I can assure you that out of the 36 states of the Federation, not up to 10 budgeted for education, 3 billion. Go and check their budget. I'm not sure. I'm just saying my experience when I was there. So you could see the waste. If you clear goods out of the port today, the trailers used to come out of the port with 200,000 naira. Today, you know how much it will cost you? In Lagos, it's 600,000. If you're going to Onitsha, 1.3 million. You know why? It takes the trailer 2 weeks to go into the port. It takes him 2 weeks to come out. So the man will charge you all the length of time he will park on the road. No country can have that. The people set a presidential task force to remove trailer. They couldn't remove it, though. Can you believe it? Headed by the vice president to remove trailer. You know the things you hear. It baffles you that there's a presidential task force to remove trailer. It didn't work. So we will not develop the ports in other areas. We will find port managers globally. It is not our duty. It's not the duty of government to develop it. We will partner with entrepreneurs and private sector people that we can give guarantee that will build first-class ports all over this country and employ people. We can generate enough money from that facility to be able to support this country. Singapore is building a port today that will start in 2050 under the sea. Wow. And we cannot even, that one is the way you saw it, the way a white man built it. is where we'll be managing it. Even when white man built it, he knew it was going to be congestion, so he built a rail. There's a rail that was inside our port before that used to carry goods from there to Kanu and everywhere. All those is gone. Sad.
So basically what he's saying is that the problem is management. And so first of all, we sort the problem out by getting the right management, then there will be reinvestment. And that reinvestment comes from the private sector.
Not just management, we are going to get the right people to run that affair by investing their own proceeds in it. It is no longer going to be government appointing Mr. OK to go and run ports. No, OK will put his money and build the port, so he will understand that he has to pay it back.
Okay, let's go to this side of the hall. I want to hear from a lady. I want to hear from a female person. So say your name and what you do, where you're coming from, and then ask your question.
My name is Isoke. I'm a student. I'm in my last year, and I work with house helps. My question is, there are a lot of young children, as you said yourself, who are out of school, and most of them end up going to houses to be house girls or house boys, or even hawking on the street. Is there anything that you can do to ensure that they won't be subject to abuse? And to
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Let me tell you, it's very simple thing. We have a law. All we need is to implement that law. We have a law that says we have a universal basic education. So every child that is a Nigerian is entitled to free education up to a certain level. And it's not a rocket science. You can decide to implement that law. Simple. That means if you see a child hawking, he should be arrested. The parents should actually be arrested. Because they shouldn't allow that child to hawk. That child is entitled to education. And I can tell you the schools where most of them are out of school, the government have received money for UBEC and all this, and use it for another thing. As I'm talking to you, even the two former secretaries of UBEC are being prosecuted for embezzlement and the children out of school.
So basically, we're going to implement the law. The law states that young children should be in school. The universal basic education law actually exists. We just haven't been implementing it. Back to this side. Where is the mic on this side? Go ahead, go ahead.
My name is Abiola Lawal. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a company called flyboku.com. Your Excellency, I've met you a couple of times. I've listened to you is what I should say. I don't know you personally, but the story about your simplicity seems to be very consistent, so I'm proud of that to hear and be here to share this forum with you. But I'd like to push you a bit harder on the SME thing, because I've seen a lot of politicians talk about SMEs, but we have not gotten it right. So I want to approach it from 3 areas, and I want to hear your reaction. Number 1, finance. I was, for about 3 years, the consultant leadership to the NESG on SME. And I feel like I was fighting a losing battle because this whole issue of financing is a big deal. If you give General Electric, General Motors, at 27% to start lending money today, in 5 years that company will collapse. So I don't understand till today why we expect SMEs to loan at 30%. So truly, we need a bit more clarity on how you're going to make that financing structure better. There's no clarity enough. And it's not enough to say we're giving the money to Bank of Industry, because that's another gateway. It's not happening well. So that's number 1. Number 2, on the issue of job, again, as SMEs, you have quoted the number right. And I was telling my friend Chidi, like, this guy seems to, sorry, Your Excellency, that you speak my language because I can relate to what you're saying, but I don't know why it has not been implemented correctly. 37 million SMEs out there. Imagine if you can give the tax holidays for those 37 million entrepreneurs to be able to hire 2 people for the next 5 years.
That's one.
Or 1. Do you know you can clear the whole unemployment issues with the youth for the next 5 to 10 years? Why have we not done that, and what's your government going to do about it? And finally, it's a real problem at every single level. This issue of so-called ease of doing business is getting worse. So I'll give you a real example. I was facilitating a session with the World Bank where I was talking about the need for us to work with SMEs and all that. And then I was getting a call on my phone from my office. My office has been closed down. I'm on Sakati Nubu right there. And what was the reason? Because the local government has come down to close us down. No, it's not even tax. They closed us down because they said we owe television and radio license. Well, the truth is, no, it's true story. Now, the true story is, I don't have a radio, I don't have television in the office. And they say it doesn't matter. So what are you going to do, at least at the federal level, to make sure all this rubbish stops? Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know, no, let me tell you, I've said it before. Let us, today we've come to interact with each other. I want to learn. My brother, I want to learn. And I share your experience. The only difference between me and most people you see is that I'm coming from where you're coming from. I've been a victim of all this, where things have been done wrongly, and people will not understand what is happening. Let me tell you, I've been protesting about this. I borrowed money at that rate. I've even made money because of it. I must tell you, I must be frank to you. I've made money because Nigeria had a high interest rate. But I borrowed at that. When we talk about access to finance, my brother, this is the only country that doesn't give grants. I know. If you want SMEs to be able to deliver aggressively, you have to think about grants. This is the only country where lending is become pawn brokerage. You know, we don't do lending here. Everyone on interview know what is called pawn brokerage. Okay, so many people say they don't know. Pawn brokerage is when you give me this, and I give you this. You know that in England, you can walk into a bank and give them an idea, and they will look at the idea, and the bank will look at how they can even lend you small money to start with. I always tell people that if Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they were from here, they wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Because nobody would have given them a dime. With that thing, they started in a garage. Nobody. They would go and bring their father and their mother's house for anybody to lend them 1 kobo. I, as a Nigerian, was giving money when my bank manager saw my activities in the UK. The first money I got was £5,000. It was when he was writing my memo and said he was being given on his intellectual capital. Here, which idea will you walk into a bank with? I say, give you money. Nobody will even listen. In fact, you wouldn't even have access to tell them about that your magic. Nobody. So you must do it differently. And I assure you, I'm not going to be part of failure. People say to me, Peter, suppose if you go there, it doesn't work. I said, no. I'll go home. I was not born a governor or vice president. No way. I will not be part of failure. If it's not working, I go home. People have gone home for not anything. May Robinson just went to a country where they were, as the Irish presidents, went to a country where they just were hurting children and everything in Rwanda. Came back to Ireland and said, I don't want to be living in presidential mansion when children are dying. I want to go home. If a president can resign and go home, it is time people will know here, I can't do this job, I go. You must not be there wasting everybody's time. If you can't do it, please go. I confronted a governor in the past few days, 2 weeks. I said, listen, you're owing salary of about 1 year. You say you want to continue. Tell me why. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You should be able to thank God and say, please let me quietly go home before these people harm me. Yes. Why do people want to stay where you're not adding value? You're not doing anything. You should be able to go home. So it would be different. Quote me anyone. Supporting SMEs is not for their benefit. It is for the benefit of the economy. I give you an example. I said China again. When you say Chinese 60% industrial output and GDP is contributed by SMEs. China GDP is 12 trillion. So 60% of it is 7.2 trillion. That is twice Nigeria, having 18 times Nigerian GDP. 18 times. So if you do that, imagine what it is. Our GDP today is about 370. Imagine if you support our GDP today is not supposed to be worth less than 1 trillion. So by supporting these people, you are actually going to up that. Even that your borrowing you're talking about, today our debt to GDP is about 20%. Imagine, and it's $80 billion. Imagine if it was $1 trillion and you borrow the same 20%, it's $200 billion. So you have an up 120 billion to play with. If you borrow 30% of it, you change the place. So you're actually doing rearing these people to be bigger in order for you to grow an economy and create jobs. And it's very, very easy. The banks and the rates, lowering the rates is very simple. I'm one of those who don't believe in what they said, issue of TSA. You can pack your money and put in the bag and go and be borrowing money outside, crowding the market. It doesn't make sense to me. And the only reason why you took that decision is because you said people are eating the interest and you cannot account for it. For God's sake, what are you talking? We should be able to put money in the system. The rest of people will say about inflation. The rest of people, every developing economy in the world needs liquidity. I want to be challenged on that. I'm a trader. It needs liquidity, not mopping up cash so you can keep your rate at a steady. Let the economy, you can give other incentives about export in order to earn more money that is foreign exchange to be able to do, but for it to mop up money that is in the system where in December that people used to do sales, nobody saw that. So it's a critical thing. We will do it differently, and I assure you, there's no way anybody can operate at a rate of over 15%. It cannot work. You're just working for the bank.
This event is powered by the Nikki Okoye Organization, Inc.